Good morning. We're got a little time. Weather's crappy outside, so we're gonna build a stripped AR lower that we picked up here a few weeks ago. We're gonna be using a 1-horse lower parts kit and a 1-horse lower uh, buffer tube assembly, and then a 1-horse complete upper that we picked up at the outdoor show here a week or so ago. Start with your strip lower. There's no accessories on it. First thing we're going to do is put your front pin in. It'll be the longer pin. It's got a little flat on the side. It has to go in. That flat has to go up against the front of the receiver right there. That keeps it from twisting when it's locked in there. And then that groove, the detent will lock in on that, keep you from pulling it all the way out, and keep it installed properly as well. If you look inside, there's 2 little indentions. That's where the detent will set. Most people claim that this is the hardest part of the build, is getting that detent in. So I've got my parts kit kind of laid out here where I can find all my stuff. Start with this small long spring. It drops in there. They make little assembly tools for this. I just use a pretty decent size Allen wrench. Stick it in there like so. The Allen wrench will hold that pin in. Then I use this pin here. It's careful, you'll shoot this thing across the room, the little detent across the room. But just take your time, push it down in there, and then push it through the hole. That's it. It won't come out now because of that detent. Pretty simple. The next, we'll go with the mag release. Put the mag release in that hole. Then your spring will go over the stud. You just compress the spring. Try not to shoot it across the shop either. Compress the spring and just thread it on there, time or 2, just like so. It's all you got to do. Then you'll press the button in and spin this around. I try to get it as far as I can. I think I can get one more turn out of it. You just don't want to scratch the finish on the receiver. But if you look, the threaded bolt in the center of the push button is flush. That's how I know that it's in far enough. Functions properly. I'm good to go. The next is the bolt drop. The bolt release, it sets in there like so. It requires a small pin and a spring. Little short pin, short spring. Drop it in this hole right here. Actually, let me back up. I'm getting ahead of myself. before we get to that point, what holds that in is a small roll pin. It's about ½ inch long or just a hair less. It goes right in there. And if you put it in from the rear towards the front, it gives you just a little bit more space than from the mag well to the rear. What I like to do is, it's pretty simple. I just lay a rag down. I will start use the rag to keep from scratching the receiver. I use an Allen wrench to space it up so it's good and straight. And I use a steel hammer for this. Just get it started. Just get it started in there like so. Now you drop the spring and the little push button right there. Your roll pin has to go through that hole right there. So once you get that started, drive that in as far as you can. Then I use a small roll pin punch. Like so. You want to drive it in till it's flush or just a hair past flush. Check your function. Everything's good to go. Didn't damage the finish on the receiver. Pretty simple. The next thing that we can install is our buffer tube assembly. So this buffer tube assembly, you want to screw that in. There's a hole right here in these threads. So you'll want to need your buffer stop and the spring for it. So you drop the spring in, you drop the pin in, and the pin's got a little titty on the front. You'll want to compress that down until the tube that you just screwed in is setting on that shoulder. If you go in too far, it'll hit and stop, and you know you've went too far. So just go in till it hits, back it off until your indexing portion for your buttstock is on the bottom. That's how you know you've got your tube installed properly. So next you'll want to put in your lower pin here. So it's just like the front. It's got a groove in it with 2 detent holes, and it just goes in here. You'll stick that in about halfway. The same little detent pin that you used on the front, you'll want to use it on the rear. Drop it down in that hole, and then there's a detent spring. It's about 1 inch long. Oh, not that one. It's actually probably an inch and a quarter long. The correct one is. You drop it down in there, put just a little pressure on it to make sure that your detent is engaged in the groove. If it engages in the groove, then you know you're where you need to be. So this spring, you'll have to compress it and turn your buffer tube just a little bit till it matches and covers up. There's a pressed in portion right here that'll guide into that lower receiver to keep it from turning. Once you get it to that point, you'll screw your locking nut down against that collar, and that portion is done. Again, this spring's just like the front one, or this pin's just like the front one. It won't pull out. It'll stay in the lower receiver. So we'll tighten that spanner after we get done. Your buffer tube or your buffer spring goes in first along with the plunger. You just push it down. There's a little flat there. You push it past that pin, and that's what you're looking for. The pin will be holding that buffer. Next, we'll work on the trigger. Alright, so I had it backwards. That's why you always check your function. There we go. So that goes like so. There we go. There we go. That's much better. Let me double check to make sure I got my hammer spring on properly. Yep. Now let's try this again. Hammer forward, locks, pull the trigger, unlocks. Now you'll want to keep it in the fire position, because if you look, you'll have the triggers in the way of the safety hole here. So if you push it back, it's open. So now we can install, we'll put the trigger guard on now. This one here has got a little spring-loaded detent in it. Goes in really easy. You just line it up on the front, clicks it in. This here has another roll pin that goes right there. We can get it started. Just watch your fingers. Need a firm surface. Just get it started. Once you get it started, you just line that up, put it on a firm surface. Use the appropriate size roll pin punch. And you'll want to tap it down until it's just a smidge below flush. Just a smidge below flush. That's your trigger guard. Alright, next we will put the safety selector. So you just gotta wiggle that in. You want safe fire, make sure that it spins. Now over here, you'll take your detent for it. With it all the way in, you'll drop it down in that hole. Then, so the 1-horse kit come with a lower grip, but we got some Thril furniture, so we're going to use it. Comes with stainless steel hardware. The last spring that holds that in, you will drop it in your lower handle. This can be a little bit tricky. You got to get that spring in that hole to hold that dowel in, but if you turn it upside down, the dowel will, or the detent will fall out. If you turn this upside down, the spring will fall out. So just hold it level. Get it in position. Slowly slide it into position like that. Make sure that it selects like it properly. You want to make sure that it functions. Everything is good. 3/16 Allen wrench, long one. You have one bolt that holds this on in the bottom. Tighten it up. It ain't got to be real tight, but you want it pretty snug. So it's on safe, hammer's back, pull the trigger, nothing happens. Flip it to fire, everything functions. No fire. That's pretty much, that wraps up the lower receiver. Like up the buttstock here, almost forgot it. It's pretty simple, just kind of a skeleton look. Slide it on, you pull this bottom pin out. And it goes in. And once it's in, you just squeeze the handle. Pretty simple. Thril is a pretty nice company. Met the owner of it at the show up in Pennsylvania. Super nice lady. Seems like a really solid product. Very, very affordable product. Complete 1-horse upper. Pull your pins out. Front pin in. Lower it down. Rear pin in. Complete weapon. Safety, fire. Seems like I got a little interference here somehow. We'll throw a Thril mag in her. Locks in. Releases. Dust cover functions. Now we got it all complete. One last step. Put our spanner wrench on the nut. Just give it a little torquey torque. And there she is. Oh, one more thing. I did forget the Thril forward grip, vertical grip. Very nice product. It's got a 5-degree cant on it, so if you want it pulled to you, pushed away from you, whatever's comfortable to you. With this hand guard, this 1-horse hand guard, it's got several different positions. You can mount it on the bottom, you can mount it over here at an angle, you can mount it directly on the side, whatever's comfortable to you. I've built a couple other of these last night, and it seems like the side Seems like the side is kind of the best place. It just slips in there. Tighten up the retaining screws. The way they capture on the bottom, you gotta put just a little pressure on it sometimes to get them to catch. But once they catch, they do really well. You put just a little torque on those. And there you have it. 6-position buttstock. Very comfortable, sharp looking weapon. Alright, I hope y'all enjoyed it. Maybe learned something. I showed you what to not do on those trigger springs. Unless you're building these things on a regular basis, it's hard to learn and to keep track of all that stuff. But again, Thril furniture, 1-horse upper, 1-horse lower parts kit and buffer tube, and a Palmetto State lower. Alright, hope everybody has a wonderful day.